It turns out that the feelings work that I am doing and that I am empowering others to do is more important than what I had ever imagined. This feelings work is really an extraordinary and evolutionary step towards adulthood and towards reclaiming a part of yourself that has been severe or conditioned, so heavily conditioned to be worked in the underground that we barely have access to it. So this work really pushes you and kind of like guides you towards getting closer and closer to your heart, to what you're feeling. And this is not just the feelings work that people imagine that it could be, because you're probably thinking, like, oh, it's like all the mushy stuff, like, oh, crying and and all of this, like, oh, beating yourself up, like, oh, I didn't do this good, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, and and the vulnerability stuff. Yeah, that's part of it. That's one big part of it, and it's not all of it. And it's actually just the first part, which is like this fucking this enmeshing, that like the conditioning from the modern culture about what your feelings, which is mostly unconscious feelings. We're not taught to feel consciously in modern culture. We are taught to repress, to hide, to avoid, to numb out the feelings with eating and avoiding feeling, being with reality, with what you are feeling, which is not easy. It's not easy with the conditioning that we have from modern culture. So this first part of feeling is really this like on enmeshing this shit that you have learned, that you have been doing, that you have seen in movies, in books, in stories, in like in your parents, in your grandparents, and for generations of doing all these uh, uh, unconscious feelings. And essentially where we're put in an orientation where you're in a battle against your feelings, where feeling angry is not good, it's really, it's violent, it's undesirable. Feeling angry is uncivilized. You don't want to feel angry, because if you feel angry, then you're not peaceful, you're not a peaceful person, you're not fixed, you're not healed, you are not enlightened, or whatever that is. You are not a good mediator, you're not civilized. and and essentially, like, there is so much programming about your feelings that at first, that the first part of the work is on enmeshing, like taking out like all of this polluted shit, like shit that doesn't serve you, because your feelings are there, your anger is gonna be there, your all of the your aliveness is part of this. Same with the sadness, for example. Like, there is so much conditioning about sadness, about boys don't cry, um, and that if you're crying, you're a victim, you're a weak man, you're a sissy, you're a pussy, you're a chicken, you're a coward. And and then we create all of this programming that essentially puts you like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I cannot feel my fear, I cannot feel my sadness, because I'm gonna be seen, I'm gonna be mocked, and this is societal suicidal. Something like a dead in the society, a dead in your circles, that you're this thing that is less than, like, now you are not in, you're not better, or you're not equal to them, you're less than. And then when you are there, you are powerless, or you lost the game of patriarchy, you've lost the game of modern culture. So really, this work about feelings is stepping more and more into your heart, and stepping into this part of your adult self where you don't want to play that game anymore, where you want to start sourcing a different game, that the game that you have been used to sourcing. And part of that game that you have been playing, part of the game of modern culture, is to not feel, do not feel. If you're feeling, you're a loser, you're wasting your time, you're broken, you are yeah, like all of the, you're useless essentially, and you're too sensitive, or you are too much, you're dramatic, or you're crazy, because you're, yeah. And so part of this game of stepping into a new world, stepping into your heart, is becoming crazy, like going crazy, getting sensitive, becoming sensitive again to all of the things that you have been cutting away from your life. And this is scary because I don't know how it goes. I don't know how it goes, so I feel scared that stepping into the unknown in a new completely space where I have this blank canvas or this vast darkness, and I'm at the edge, and everything else is behind me, and I'm at the edge of this darkness of, I'm trailblazing, I'm saying what's gonna happen here, what is the next experiment, where am I, what is my next step into this culture that I'm taking a stand for. And without access to my fear, I wouldn't be able to do this. This is why the feelings work is the first step of reclaiming, and it's not the end. And at first, the feelings work is going to be messy because there is so much conditioning from unconscious conditioning from modern culture. So as you're stepping out, disentangling, this enmeshment from what you are really feeling, what you are really here for, what you are turned on about, what you're heartbroken about, and all of the other conditioning on top of that, it creates this fog or this turbulence. That first step is unmeshing so you can get clear access to your feelings. And without that work, it's more of the same. More of the same is going to be created, which is not feeling, or avoiding your feelings, or just going with the mind space and not feeling. So this is the importance of these feelings work, that it really is your aliveness. This is you coming alive. This is the heart in your chest opening up into the world for creating the thing that it came here to create, and like, and really seeing the power of your heart, the intelligence of your feelings. And it's gonna be crazy. It's not gonna be reasonable, like mind reasonable. It's not going to be logic. It's not going to make sense to the mind because the feelings operate at a completely different dimension. So this stepping into that is saying yes to your feelings, is going crazy. You're gonna go crazy. I'm going crazy. I mm, I'm going crazy. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where, half of the time, what I'm doing, or what I'm doing, and still there is so much of that programming, the old programming that I'm carrying, that is continuing to perpetuate the old, or perpetuate patriarchy, perpetuate the culture of numbing, of not feeling. So how is it for you, in seeing this these two conditionings, and do you have that idea that feelings work is this mushy kind of thing of like, being vulnerable and being soft and being empathic, and saying like, yeah, I hear you, yeah, you're right. Part of feelings work is the empathetic work, where you can feel what the other person is feeling, and you can like really empathize with somebody that's feeling sad or scared or angry. And the other part of feelings that is not really, I don't see so much out there, is the anger part, or this part where you're bringing your clarity, where you are saying what it is, how it is, and using your feelings. And this other part also about the fear, like using the fear, the information and energy from your fear, to stand in that unknown, to 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 fall, to go into that free falling experience, of that it is of standing in your fear. And what I've discovered is that by stepping into these other parts of myself, these feelings, all of the my aliveness just comes to life. I'm able to feel more joy. I'm able to be less hooked, meaning that I don't get so emotionally reactive to my partner or to my parents or to society or to whatever is happening in my circle. I don't get reactive to it. I don't get hooked, emotionally reactive, or emotionally hooked to something that somebody else did. This is in other contexts. I'm not taking it personally. So by learning how to feel my anger and my fear consciously, I'm like opening up this big space around me where I can feel what I'm feeling. I can be in connection, hard connection with another one, and I don't have to, in a way, leaning into, oh yeah, like buying into getting hooked, emotionally reactive, getting angry about something that they said or something that they did, and I can still have my my space, my being, my, what do you call it, just my clarity. In a way, I can have my clarity regardless of if another is agreeing or not agreeing, or they like it or don't like it, and I can use that to communicate it. And everything is bullshit. Even all of this, I'm using some of my feelings right now to communicate a message, to share from my experience, and to really learn that I thought that the feelings work was important, and it is way more important than what I thought that it was. I wish I knew how important this is, because without feelings work, there is no possibility for any other cultural context other than creating a repetition of the old cultural context of patriarchy, which is based on avoiding your feelings, based on taking the resources from the earth, and not feeling the pain of what happens when you create resentment, what happens when you create hatred, what happens when you disconnect from yourself, what happens when you disconnect from others, what happens when you are plotting a revenge against another. There is a In modern culture, there is an insensitivity to that. So to create a something else, and to create something more closer to reality, where you're not numbing yourself, you're not killing your aliveness to survive. This is the first step. It's learning how to feel. I want to know how you feel about this. What are your feelings? What are your questions that come up about this when I say these things? And that you leave them in a comment, that you send me a message, that you talk to other people about it and bring it up into spaces, talking about feelings, not from this place of the normal kind of feeling space where it's all like mushy and delicate, and you gotta be careful, but from this place of like, how is it for you to not feel what you're feeling, that you're living in a place where you cannot feel what you're feeling? How is it for you that you have to numb yourself to be able to survive the world? How is that? How is it for your relationships, for the people around you, that you have to numb yourself for being able to be with them? So these are some questions that come up from this space of, I'm alive. I want you, and I want us to be alive. I want our aliveness to be the thing that makes our culture richer and more, not just possible, but thriving and colorful and regenerative, and something that gives value to the earth. So if you will, send a message, connect with other people around you, bring up this question, and bring up this question about your conditionings, about your feelings. How is it to live in a world where you cannot feel your feelings? So So thank you for watching, and I hope to read some comments soon.